Madeline's is a quirky little film with some pretty big ideas. How did you first hear about the role of Owen?
I knew Jason had talked to me. Kind of, we were working on something because we were producing, doing the finishing touches on another movie called Unidentified, or maybe it was Bloodhound. Now, we've been producing a lot together, and he mentioned that he was writing this script with Bria, and it was a sci-fi. And he told me the concept of all these. They create this code where basically it works, but then his wife Madeline comes back the same day every day for like 10 years, and it's going to be like 3,600 of her coming. So it becomes this, this dark comedy. And I just was on board. I never heard anything like that before. And I've watched all types of, sci-fi, and I'm well versed in it. And it was something new. So I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. And yeah, that's how I heard about it.
Awesome. And what made you interested in actually portraying Owen? He's a bit of an interesting fellow.
I like the fact that he is sort of the perspective of the audience, kind of like dealing with all this and how you might deal with this if all these things were to come to a head, and just how you would try to manage it all. So I really like that, sort of like the everyday man type perspective of trying to adapt to the situation.
Awesome. Talk a little bit about working with Bree Grant, who wrote the screenplay and also co-starred with you.
We had a lot of friends in common, like a lot that overlapped, and it was strange that our paths hadn't crossed because we just knew so many people in common, and we both knew of each other's work, and so it was kind of everything what I expected, because I knew that she was a very talented writer and actor, and it was all that, it was all that and more. So it was kind of great to sort of have it live up to my the expectations that we had of each other. So it was great.
Awesome. So Madeline's is, it's got that good indie vibe, and with that comes, some potential challenges. So what were some of the most challenging or even most memorable moments of filming Madeline's?
The most memorable parts were because we try different ways to eliminate the Madelines. So it becomes a trial and error. And as a result, there's many ways that it happens. So through very violent means, through very, humane ways. And I guess just when there's a part where there's a montage of all the deaths, and one is where we decide to electrocute one of the Madelines, and the makeup that I saw Bria in was just so awesomely horrific, where I didn't know where the makeup started and where she began. And I was like, she just looked charred. And I'm like, where are you in all this? This is amazing. And then there's another one where she dies through different ways, and just seeing the prosthetics and the practical things and the CGI that Jason, the director, had done. So it was kind of like a new thing all the time, because it wasn't just one way that we were doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And to that point of there being different ways to get rid of the Madelines, the central conflict of the film is pretty complicated. And I was just wondering, what are your personal thoughts on the decisions that Owen made with all of the Madelines, between, kind of having a favorite and how he chose to eliminate them as they came through?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to desensitize yourself if you don't get to know each Madeline. But as he gets to know each one, he realizes that they are all different people, even though they are the same person, because they've gone through different experiences, how long they've been in the past, and what they've encountered has made them different people. And they're not, because before he was just very scientific in his thinking, like logically, same DNA, same molecular structure. It's just a clone of you, basically. So as long as one of you exists, it's fine, you know. So I think his views on that start to change very quickly when things go wrong, and he starts encountering the other Madelyns and spends time with them.
Mm-hmm. I have a favorite, but I'm wondering, what's your favorite Madeleine kill of the movie?
Let's say my favorite one. Yeah, it was the electrocution. It was the electrocution. Yeah, just that the makeup came together, and he's very excited that he has this idea, and he has Madeleine, the original one. So you're gonna love this. Check this out, and then it's like so horrific that it doesn't go as how it sounded like on paper.
Mm-hmm. I did like seeing the progression of Owen. I feel like there was a spell there where he was kind of enjoying finding novel ways to do it, but he wouldn't let himself really show that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's reading books, you know, and chuckling like, "Oh, this would be a great way to."
Exactly. So you're a part of social media. What kind of fan feedback have you received from the film, if any, yet? I know it's a pretty recent release.
Yeah, it just came out, but the few responses have been really positive. The reviews have been fantastic. It's nice that, you know, because it's a very small movie, so the people who have seen it have appreciated how much we were able to do with the high concept, but also knowing that it was a low budget and having just 3 actors in the whole cast to be able to logically and be able to pull that off. So I'm glad that we were kind of concerned, just because a lot of, you know, you're used to seeing a lot of production and budget, and it was nice for people who have seen it to appreciate the work that it took to make this film.
Definitely. And what do you think it is about it that is going to make it a, you know, fast fan favorite dark comedy? You know, it has those genre elements, but it was funny.
Yeah, it's very unique. I mean, there's really not another film that I can think of that sort of touches on that sort of tone of doing all these like horrific things, but at the same time that there's humor in it. And I think, I mean, what maybe touches on it is maybe the same vein as the Santa Clarita Diet with Drew Barrymore. Yes, when it was on Netflix. But we're straddle the line of being a little bit more darker, but the infusion of that humor and having to use as a sort of a coping mechanism, but not, you know, they're not aware of the humor. They're just kind of like how they're dealing with the situation, and it turns out to be a humorous result.
Yeah, I think it adds an element of humanity to it, because if you can't find the humor in that, you know, it's
right.
not going to end well.
Yeah.
Not that it ended well, but you know. So you've been a part of quite a few genre films, including, you know, the cult favorite franchise Hatchet. But is there something about the speculative fiction genre that you find attractive?
I mean, just being an actor, you know, it's kind of you're basically stretching your imagination, you know, to make this piece of story or dialogue come to life, and your imagination is pretty much needs to be firing on all pistons, whether even on the most dramatic and grounded piece, because I mean it's really not happening. You're really just recreating it for a crew of, you know, 100 people that are surrounding you. The circumstances are not realistic. So your imagination. So when I get to do something that's even more sort of requires more of the imagination, that's kind of like, you know, what you, when you're a kid and want to, you're playing pretend and playing, you know, these imaginary things with your action figures or things like that. that you getting to do that on being a grown-up and having, you know, actual sets and music added to it afterwards and editing and making it really, really polished. So it's kind of like, it's an amazing toy box. So I love genre films.
That's awesome. What other projects are you currently working on? Anything exciting in the pipeline for you?
Yeah, there's one I've been working on since the end of 2020. I just found out that Netflix is distributing it. It's an animated show. I won't be able to, I can't tell people what it is yet, but it'll be coming out in July. And and then another project that I shot in 2020 also, kind of voiceovers, as you can tell, just basically did not skip a beat during quarantine, because that was kind of like the only thing that they could do, because you couldn't actually record in your home or in a secluded booth. So that also will be coming out on Netflix.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yes. I just have one more question for you, and that's what would you like to say to fans and followers of your work?
I just would love to express my appreciation that they've kind of followed me. I went to a convention a couple weeks ago, and I've kind of done a lot in terms of kind of like a wide breadth of things. And there's this one person that just kind of like was just kind of like when someone walks up, I can kind of like profile them, like, oh, you're a General Hospital fan. Oh, you're a Hatchet fan. Oh, you play video games. And this person was just throwing all this stuff out across all genres. And I'm like, wow, this is really impressive that you've kind of been following me. I don't know, on purpose or just by accident with your interests. So yeah, it's really cool when people who are just like interested in, they kind of like have built a trust. Like, okay, I know that he's gonna bring something interesting, so I'm gonna tune in, even though I'm not necessarily interested in that genre, but I'll give it a try because I like what he does. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do wonder how much overlap there is between fans of General Hospital and fans of Hatchet. There's a little separation there.
Yeah,